I tried to find a bunch of shears that were really, really bad, and I got some, but I've got a picture of a lot of shears up here that over the years I've learned different problems with them, different quirks with each shear. That or a lot of these shears I'll show you. All of them got little quirks to them, little things that I've learned, little tricks that took me a little bit to figure it out. And hopefully this will help you. And you get a shear like a shear that's not cutting very good. We'll go through it in a minute. I resharpened it and looked at it a bunch of times, and finally I figured out a little trick I could do to make it cut. So that's what we're looking at, making the shear work. A lot of these shears you guys will know. Jaguar shear here, I was talking. You guys ever sharpen these? You see this?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That right there. And this is a lot for the new guys too. When they have that brass in there like that, that breaks real easy. Something to be careful of. The threads inside are brass, real fine brass. There's a washer underneath the stud, and then on the back side, underneath this nut, is this washer here that's oval shaped, and just a couple parts that go in there. It's pretty easy to lose. If you lose that washer, the shear won't stay adjusted real well. It'll either be too tight or too loose. But the main thing is on that shear, and let's see. The main thing on that shear is this, that nut breaks off real easy. You get that cross threaded just a little bit, and it's very easy to cross thread. Who's ever done one of those before? A couple, 3 or 4 of us. Yeah. So, you know, it's kind of good that some of us have seen it and some of us haven't, because, you know, pretty good problem. And then after that, you got to put it back in with a pair of pliers and then have to order another one from Jaguar. Jaguar, kind of hard to order from. I order my stuff out of Canada.
We have some of the parts.
You guys do?
Yeah, we sell some of the parts. I don't know what's going to happen now that Jaguar is no longer owned by Fromm.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they didn't know
they're no longer owned by the same company. And that's just a recent development. But right now we get parts from Fromm. So.
I got you. Go on. Kasho shear. Main thing on this shear, it's a really hard shear. The metal is on it. This particular model of Kasho shear. Some of the new Kashos are a little cheaper, but this is the old Japanese style. It says Japan right on it. This part here is engraved. Can everybody see that? That part there is engraved in there. One of the ways to identify an old Kasho. But those are really hard shears. So if you ever think about bending one of those, don't think about it. It'll vibrate.
What's the Kasho?
This model is a Kasho here. Yeah, it's got that nut that grips the thread. Another way down. Okay. Low quality shear. Let me see on the next slide. Okay, good. These two slides kind of go hand in hand. Who bends shears here? Who bends blades? 2, 3?
I'll break them.
Break? Okay. No,
We don't bend anymore.
Yeah.
Only in certifications and if they're my shears.
Okay. About 90% of the shears I bend are these shears right here.
Yep.
They're the low quality shears. They're the low quality shears like these. And you can tell because they got a 2-piece blade on them here. Handles aluminum and then a metal on them.
There was some of that bargain room in there.
Yeah.
I think there's still one for $7.50.
$7.50.
Yeah.
You guys ought to go buy it. If whoever doesn't bend,
Oh, it was.
whenever I train, I've got a pair of shears like these hanging on the wall. And I pull them down after we've been sharpening for a little bit, and I say, here, see how this cuts? It don't cut. It don't cut at all. Then I tell them, what would you do to sharpen? This is after, whenever I'm getting done. Most of them would, what would you do to make it cut? Most of them start sharpening. A lot of these shears, the tips of them don't cut real well, and it's because they need a little twist.
Dennis, I find the biggest problem is that the rivet holding the blade to the handle is loose.
That's another problem.
And that's what I always tell them to check that first. I had one in one early days tore my hair out. And,
because it was.
And then really realized that it was loose in there.
You fix
and
that?
now it's hard. Well, that one I couldn't. So now it's hard to go back and explain it was already defective after I've spent a half an hour
Sure.
on a shear.
She said that the rivet's loose and it makes the handle loose.
The
and it doesn't-
handle connected to the blade.
Yeah. You guys know what a center punch is?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I use a center punch and will peen the inside of that rivet. And what it'll do is it'll make that rivet spread out a little bit
Yeah, but I tell them that the scissor's defective. They
so
need
you
to
can
buy
sell them a new
pair.
one. But those are most of the shears that I bend and tweak. Those low quality Fromms, some of the crickets, new crickets are like that. Jaguar, stuff like this are most of the ones that I bend. Most of the shears that I break are really good quality shears.
Especially cobalt.
Well, just any good. I broke a Kasho. I broke a couple of old Centrix 500s, a Joewell. The reason that you break good quality shears is because good quality shears aren't made to be bent. The reason that you're bending them, and if you'll pay attention, probably most time you'll see it. Saw one today. Bonnie could have took that shear, that Hikari, good quality shear. If it would bend, she could have bent that tip around a little bit and made it cut quite a while longer. She could have bent the edge around a little bit and got a ride line, okay? She can't bend it because it's a good quality shear. In other words, most of the shears that I break are really good quality shears that are wore out, that I'm trying to get just a little bit more life out of.
And I was able to get more life out of it
Just
without
by-
the bending.
just by sharpening,
Kind of
yeah.
surprised me.
Yeah, and Bonnie did a really
I
good
handle on a pair for a lady trying to get the tips to come together rather than cut the tip off.
Uh-huh. When was the last time anybody tried to bend? I know.
What I broke one.
I've been fairly regular, but it's like you said, cheap.
Go there and buy them $7.50 shears. You
The
can
dark
sharpen,
lumen shears,
you can
I've
sharpen
been a lot
one
of
blade
them.
and convex it, take the other blade, stick it in a blade bender, and just work on bending it, working on unbending. You're probably not going to bend all the time. I bend probably 2 or 3, 4 times a week. But some of you are going to say, I never bend. I don't have, that's good. But in a case like this, a low quality shear, all I would do is just tweak that blade a little bit, twist it a little bit with
You always tell the person before that it has a chance of breaking.
the $25 shear. If I break it, I'll buy them a new shear.
I gave her a new pair.
I could take that shear right there, that blade, and bend it to where it looks like this. That's how weak they are. Matter of fact, we did one in class, not like that, but the other day we did. All right, we're going to move on here. So, any other questions?
One other thing, Dennis.
Sure.
I don't know if you were in here when Don was speaking, and from a manufacturer's point of view, he said you don't bend or they hammer when you go to the sharpening process. They just don't do it. He says in the factory they'll only do one person that'll be doing all the hammering, and the other people don't do it.
Each shear type has its own handle, own guy hammering.
Oh, the master hammer.
One or
Yeah.
two people in the whole plant
Yeah.
is allowed to do it.
That's interesting.
And he didn't recommend
Bending.
bending, he hammers, and he sharpens himself, and he doesn't do any of that, he just,
Just taps.
no, he doesn't tap it. He says you get it as good as you can get it, and let it go.
Yeah, Ron.
What are you charging for that, Dennis, when you're sharpening and doing all of that?
That shear there, $18.
Well, I mean, part of the reason I was wondering is that, like you're talking about where they're so cheap. I mean,
There's two ways. There's 2 ways that I sharpen them 2 shears right there. Them 2 shears right there. One way I sharpen them, and it just depends on how much in a hurry I am and how much I like the customer. The easy way of sharpening it is open it up, don't unscrew it, clean it up a little bit, rub my stone on the blade, on the inside of the blade, okay? And we all know when you do that, you're not doing it right because you're creating a little bit of an angled ride line. And do both blades, get a burr, and then I'm done. That's it. Get a burr on like 15 micron. Most of them are bevel, so that's what I do. The other way that I do it is I take it apart and I do the ride line right. But I still only charge $18. But that's the type of shear that I would normally tweak if you're having a problem with a low quality shear at the tip, not cutting good, and then you take and you go back and you resharpen it and it don't work good, just put a little tweak in it. I think we worked on, a couple of guys I worked with Friday, I unbent it. I unbent the shear and it wasn't cut. And all I did was rebend it back and then it would cut. So a low quality shear is going to unbend. A high quality shear isn't. Anything else there?
You say you twist it. Are you twisting the blade or just blowing the blade?
Twist.
Twist the blade?
Whenever I
You roll the tip in?
yes, whenever you put your blade in your blade bender, that slotted thing that you got, I put the blade in there for a right hand shear, cutting edge up, and I twist counterclockwise. What that does, if you twist this clockwise and this is held here, it's going to roll the edge out there this way, which means it rolls it tighter into the other edge. That's how you put twist in, counterclockwise. If you want to put more set, more bow in a shear, then you pull the cutting edge up, and then you pull the blade to you, to the right. You're raising the shear. Counterclockwise for twist, pull it right to put more bow in.
You know, it's a miracle that people pay. I mean, I'm not you, charge more for those things than your worth. But you know, they don't realize we buy those things for almost $3.
And you can, the Centrix and the Fromms are more than $3. They're
Yeah, but
about,
I mean, the same
they're about
here,
20,
basically.
but
Like the off-brand,
maybe. But the off-brands are,
about the same.
I give them away to people. I say, here, use this to cut, top.
And I vote for Vermax and stuff.
Alright, this is one of them here. This is a shear here that I had a problem with, that I sharpened it, and it happened to be a swivel thumb, but it was still, had that Teflon ride in it. And that ride is on both blades. It's under this blade here too.
Yeah.
I sharpened it, went back, she said it wasn't cutting good, went back. I could not find anything wrong with it. I went out, took it apart, couldn't find anything. I went ahead and touched up the ride line again, kissed the edge again, and took it back. But she wasn't really happy. And this went on for about 4, 5, 6 months or a year. She just wasn't very happy off and on. I found out that on that type of shear, because you guys has heard me say how I adjust a shear, and I know everybody's got their other different ways, and this is how I do it. I adjust a shear as tight as I can get it, whether I'm using a knob or a screw system like that or a knob. I adjust it as tight as I can get it, but I still want it to feel good in my hand. Okay, that's the ultimate. I want it to feel good in my hand. Most of the time, it drops halfway. Okay, most of the time. On this shear here, you can adjust it where it drops halfway. It'll cut good. You can adjust that shear there where it hardly has any drop. I mean, none. And it'll still feel good in your hand. And I did that to her shear, and since then she's been 100% happy.
The worst thing about that shear is trying to take it apart. In the old ones.
Oh, it's got the, yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
that
Little-
UFO thing with it, you need 3 arms.
He
well,
still
that-
has a customer that has that shear and won't give it up, don't you, Bob?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
The
know what you're talking
the
about.
old Vortex?
Well, this is not this one. This one's a
Yeah.
screw, but he's talking about the one that's got a spanner wrench on one side and an Allen wrench on the other.
Yes.
I take,
The new ones have got knobs. Harry solved my problem when he came out with his deal a couple of years ago.
there you go. Good deal. All right, that Sam Vila is the next one. Boy, it's a lot darker up there than it is here. But this shear here is a couple things about this shear. This shear here, whenever I first sharpened one, I sharpened it at 45 degrees, because that's what I pretty much do all of them. But then I found out that this one from the factory is about 50. So just something to be aware of. You could sharpen it, and they might think, this just don't cut as good as it used to. And so change it back to a 50. There's a couple like that though. We got it here. The other thing on this shear is, whenever you put this in through the hole, and then you put your tension plate and your clicker plate on, and that knob there on. And this came up this morning. I didn't want to bring it up because I didn't want to say anything because it was Bonnie's presentation.
Don't keep me from
you-
interrupting your
no.
presentation. But
I forgot who brought it up. Lauren brought it up. which side does that, which blade does this go in?
One with the round hole. Style
And-
side. One with
There's two round holes there.
the, one with the tape with the style side.
The one where there's not a hole
The
for
hole
the
is-
flicker plate.
bottom of the hole
There's a
is
flicker,
tape.
there's a hole on both flicker plates. There's a hole on both handles for the flicker plates.
That's the one that's. Depends on if they're right-handed or left-handed.
Got the hole in it.
See the hole there?
Yeah.
And see the hole there for the flicker plate?
No wonder, so
It's
it'd be
there.
like it now.
You can get it. Okay, I'm not gonna make you guys guess. It goes, go ahead, Ron.
All they did was make that where you could put it on either side.
That's right. So, for
They
me,
call it left-handed adapter.
for me, I did it a few times, and I know a couple times I just put it back together. Didn't pay any attention. Then one time I put it together and I thought, whoa, this can go together either way. Which way does it go? And so I got to looking, I got to thinking, you cut a palm out, you want that bolt right there, you want that to go through the thumb handle. So the knob is on this side. Lauren brought that up earlier. Because that guy was cutting right or left-handed. He needed left-handed shears. I didn't want to say that he could buy a pair of Sambilas or a pair of Rusk or a pair of Centrix because they were switchable. I didn't know if you had one, so I don't want to say that, but I'd make him buy one from you first. But that's the thing about that one. About a 50-degree angle. Samvila, got like a little paw print thing up there on the button.
Does that scissor have the micro serrations on it?
No, this one don't. That scissor is probably about $450 or so, and not even close to one.
No.
Not even.
I think they came out of Pakistan on his original, but supposedly he got a.
They got a fancy box though. So anyway, that's a couple things. When you see a shear that's got both these blades, both these blades are exactly the same. They got a recessed hole here for the washer. They got a hole for the flicker plate. So it'll go either way. So just remember that you got palm out. Your thumb blade is right here, and it's on that side. Because on a right-handed shear, your thumb blade is always on the left side when you hold it this way. But it goes through the thumb blade, and then the flicker on this side. So when you go up against the hair, that knob's not dragging. Go ahead, Ron.
Supposedly where a left-handed person's putting, torquing their hand different and everything. When you take that right-handed shear and you swap that knob over, does that affect the shear?
I wouldn't think it would. If it was a left-handed person, you could do it so that the knob wouldn't be in the way, but I wouldn't think it would affect the cut.
Well, I mean, you know, it's so often, it's like we tell them, you know, if you're left-handed, if you try to switch to a right-handed shear, you can use that, but you put a different pressure on it, you get used to that, and now you try to go back to a left-handed shear, you're gonna have trouble.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, I'm left-handed, but after I've used Sharpening shears right-handed, I start using left-handed ones and have trouble.
I know, me
But
too.
where, since the blades were still operating as a right-handed shear, and I don't know, and that's the reason I'm asking you, since you dealt with a lot more shears. I mean, I didn't know if you swapped that thing over.
No, for one thing, I've never had that. There's just a few shears, a couple of us, and I'm not even sure about the Centrix, but I know the Samvilas
The sense
and the Senseis, they do them, and some of the Ruffs. The old Senseis, and I should have saved it, the old Senseis, they were only one way, and it was actually backwards. She's up in one of my towns, but I'll take a picture of it. But it's made, the old Senseis, they're made like this, but this one only had one hole, and it was made no matter how you put it together. The adjustment knob was against the hair.
It's like a flat screw, it's on that side.
Yep. So, anyway, any questions on that? I mean, pretty easy, just look at it. It's just I learned, and I'm sure I took them back in a couple times, and whenever I was young sharpening, and gave them to them backwards. That's probably why they don't sharpen for me no more. Joewell, that's the scissor I was telling you about that. It's a good quality shear. This is a good quality Japan Joewell, not the Chinese Joewell. See that little like chicken thing on there? If you see that, don't try to bend it. They will break. That's a really hard shear, a lot of cobalt in it. really good quality shear. Don't try to bend it. Dad bent one, tried one, and snapped it. I think it was $160 our cost. You get that. So that's the main thing on that one. Also, this shear is sharpened about a 40-degree angle, about like what Bonnie did this morning. It was made for dry cutting. This old style shear here, back then they didn't know how to slide cut or nothing like that. So it's sharpened at about 35, 40-degree angle. Two main things on that shear.
Dennis,
Yes.
what if you come across this and you see that screw and it looks like there's glue gooing out of it, or like it's almost no slot there? I mean, you know, you've seen them with it. The screw looks very damaged. What would you do?
Of course, I try to look for a new screw. If the top of it was damaged where it was real rough, like that one, I would take and hold it on my flat hone and just make swipes on 15 micron paper and then polish it. That would help. But also look for a new screw. That's about all you can do. That screw there is a split screw. What that is in there, the other side of it split. Be careful with that a little bit, but that's what I do.
I hate
Boy,
the
it's
screws in that scissor. I have more problems with that.
Keeping it tight.
Yeah.
3 ways that I fix it. And whenever I train, I've got about 5 different screw systems. I'm saying this for Bonnie's sake because she trains. I've got about 5 different screw systems. And I show the people, and I'll quit saying I'm training because I'm not trying to get
No,
business from you.
yeah, that's okay.
Uh,
I do the same thing. Anybody's been to my class, they know I've got a tray with the different screws, and we look at them.
Yeah, and we look at them.
Where do you get the extra screws? Because some of the shear people won't send you parts.
That's the mystery of, you just go to every vendor that comes to every show and you say, what kind of parts do you have?
Get what they've got and hope it something fits.
Hope it fits. Save all your old shears.
Some of them
Nina,
won't give you, and some of them will.
Taskeen at Nina. I think, is it Nina or Tiara now?
No, Nina is, that's the name of his daughter, and that's the name of the company,
Okay.
but Tara is the
Yeah,
name of
and don't
his
punch
sister.
in Nina.com.
No, you'll get something.
You'll get a
You get really
different site.
But Tara, you get
Dennis,
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we have screws, they
Roberta.
have screws.
question about the screw. I guess the screw pretty much is the same quality metal as the shear itself, or is it different? The reason
I never
I
thought
don't
about
think it
that.
is.
The reason I ask is because like when you have like the open-end screws or the U-shaped screws, when they get loose, normally what we do, we go in and we try to spread it to make it tight. So if the screw's the same type of metal as the shear, you know, it's high quality metal, and you bend it, if you try to open it, it's going to crack.
I do that
I'm
last.
curious.
On a split, does everybody know what a split screw is?
Yeah.
If you don't, raise your hand. Okay, good, you do. On a split screw, he's talking about it coming loose.
No, yeah, if it comes loose,
Yep.
maybe you
Yep,
spread
it
it
comes-
so make it tight.
Comes loose, let's see it.
The U-shape.
You push down, that spring goes down, and then it finally gives loose, and it pops that point. Okay? I would put the screw in all the way, tighten it, over-tighten it a little bit, come on the backside of the shear, and put my spring-loaded center punch in here, and basically I'm spreading those threads out. That binds the other threads real good.
Is there ever a recommended time when you could actually machine out of both blades and incorporate a whole different screw system?
No, if you do, I mean, boy, you're talented. No, that'd be a lot of work. You have to have the equipment and everything. The knife solution, that's the last way I would do it, because there's a chance. And Centrix crickets, the old 500s, 575s, you put a knife blade in there, you pop one side off.
That's what I was.
Yeah, go ahead,
and
Mark.
went down a little.
Yeah, Teflon tape,
That
dental
was one of
floss.
the jam ideas last year.
Yeah. Roseline, pet grooming shear. Anybody ever sharpen them?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What's wrong with them?
A lot of times it sits on them. The screws work loose on them too.
There you go.
Always.
Roseline shear like that. They're a pet grooming shear. Really nice shear. They're good quality shear. They're a good pet grooming shear.
Screws work loose a lot.
The screws are garbage on them.
And a lot of the sharpeners put super glue in there
Oh, yeah.
to hold them.
So anyway, that's something to be aware of. If you're doing some Roseline shears, you might want to get some extra screws. That's the only, other than that, you'll fight it forever. And
I've got some of it.
those are not split screws. I've even taken and damaged the thread. You get a screw that's not a split screw, I just take and hold it up, and where the after the first thread or three, I'll take a pair of pliers and just squeeze, and basically just damage the thread. And I hold the pliers at an angle, so that's how I damage the thread.
Well, I've done a few of those damn shit problems straight out of the box brand new.
Well, that could be, but I mean, a few of them, but I mean, I'm talking generally, the screws are the top of them.
Oh, they are, they're horrible.
And those are corrugated, and people that don't corrugate, those are corrugated. The only thing on this Fromm shear, they got the plastic insert, they're Fromm and Jaguar. They got the plastic insert on the other blade, not that the screw goes in, that plastic insert. The biggest deal I saw with them is that plastic insert, if you don't get it back down in the square hole right, it'll start getting rounded off and it won't hold. And also, it's easy for the screw to get, when you put it back in, it's real easy for the screw to get cross-threaded. Occasionally on low quality shears with the square shoulder on the pivot, when you put them in and the tips don't line up, like he said, take it out and just turn that screw a quarter of a turn, because it's really not a square, it's a triangle or a rectangle. One side's longer than the other. Okay, go ahead, Ron.
The plastic thing, I've fooled with some of them, and then it's like somebody cross-threaded it or did something.
Yeah.
The screw doesn't want to hold tight. What, you got any suggestions about what to put in there? I tell them throw away, get a decent shear.
That's what I tell them. That's what I tell them. I mean, unfortunately, most of the time that when you realize you got a problem with that black plastic insert, and a lot of the Jaguars are blue, is after you've done sharpening. So you've got to fix it somehow. And the Fromm and Jaguar deals have them. You can get new ones pretty easy. This next shear is Joewell Pink. Two things about this shear that I found. One, the edge is about 50 degrees from the factory. If you get a brand new one, which there's not that many of them anymore, but if you get a brand new one that hasn't been sharpened, the edge will come up real quick if you're at 45 degrees. That means that your shear's raised up too high. You get a burr real quick. So just something to keep in mind. Those cut good. They're medium to low. They're about like a rocket dog, I think, in quality. Easy to sharpen. The other thing on this shear is under the clicker plate here is this tension washer right here, that steel cupped washer. If you leave that out, it doesn't cut as good. For some reason, I think it balances the blades, but it doesn't cut as good.
Something to hold tension on that plate too.
It might, yeah. And that might be part of it, holding even tension on the plate. Nikki Cutter, you guys know Nikki Cutter?
I've heard
Some of
the
you?
name, I know.
She was one of the first guild member women. She's dead now, but she told me about it. She said that whenever you lose that washer, I'd never lost one. So whenever I went back home, or next time I sharpened one of them, I left it out on purpose, and she was right. It didn't cut very good. It cut okay on dry tissue, but on wet tissue, it just wanted to snag a little bit, wanted to bruise it a little bit, instead of a really clean cut. So that's just, on that Joewell Pink, that's a couple things you can look at.
I was asleep one day and put the little round piece on top of the clicker plate, and it don't work good that way either.
No, it doesn't. This one here, Zyrca, this is an old shear. This is a good quality shear, forged blades, cast handles. Anybody ever do these?
Yeah.
What's
You've done.
what's bad about these?
I've had two different things, and I don't know. I think I saw them different from one model to the other. Some of those, but some of those on the little knob itself, underneath it's got the rubber insert inside the knob.
Yep, not this one.
Not that one, okay.
I've actually got that one as one of my show and tells,
You
and
do
it's
too?
never been sharpened because I don't want to take it apart.
All right, well, there's 6 pieces. There's 6 pieces to the screw system on that. Okay? That's what it looks like. Yep, that's what it looks like, and they're always red. I've never seen any color other than red. They don't make them anymore either. Also, they got a big butterfly handle here, a real thick handle, so you can tell. The first step is this top red, that top red button right there is plastic, and it pries out with a knife. You can see that little stud, how it fits down in that hole. You stick a little knife in there and just work it a little bit around, that pries out. Next step you do is see this knurled nut right here? This knurled nut, and then it's threaded on the inside. You take that off. And underneath it is the clicker plate. All right? And after that, have a stud. This stud here is threaded, which goes into the bottom blade like a normal shear. And of course there's a washer in here, under here, that goes in there. But the stud is also threaded on the outside here is what that knurled nut goes on. And then the washer in the bottom, right there. And, but anyway, that's how it goes together. When it goes back together, I put, I said 6, there's only 5 there. Back together, I put the washer in, I put this stud here in, and then I get my initial adjustment with a screwdriver right here on this slotted stud. Put the clicker plate on, the clicker nut, and then you can do your last adjustments with the clicker nut. But that's the main thing on that one.
Washi had one.
Did
And
Washi have one?
now ours, we have one that's similar, and it's the tribal, but that clicker, that outside things that pry it off with a screwdriver, you unscrew it with your fingers.
Oh.
But our tribal shear, which we're out of stock on right now, but that one's
Some of the old Tondeo,
Tondeo.
Yeah.
some of those really had some funky screws.
Have you seen the spring hopper?
The what?
Spring hopper?
Spring hopper?
Spring hopper shears? I'll have to send you a picture of those. I've only seen them
Are they?
3 times.
Somebody said that they had one shear that's got a decorative cover over the screw, and it's magnetic. I've heard like this last little decorative cover right here.
Oh.
Somebody said they've seen it, and it's magnetic. So you'd have to pry it off, and then you could get to the screw system on it.
That could be kind of bad because they're attracting all the metal particles and all, don't it?
Yeah, when they're cutting.
Yeah,
I've never saw that
Yeah, I've
before.
seen ones, cheap one, and they had 4 different color buttons that stuck on magnetically.
Wow.
Because the girl brought it into me in the case.
That just sounds
Yep.
dangerous.
Move on.
Someone asked me earlier today about if the shear has been really sharpened and the ride is completely gone back toward the pivot.
How do you fix that?
Yeah, what do you do?
You guys hear what she said?
Yeah.
Right, and like the shear she had today. Couple things you can do. One is you can ramp that ride
I'm
line,
going to turn the light on.
meaning bring the shear, the pivot area of the shear on the stone, just keep it on the stone and just work it and slowly work towards the tip. In other words, you're taking more metal off the pivot area than you are off the tip area. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it would be that you've got the ride line, that you got a scissor blade. Let's see. It looks like this. Here's the handle, and here's the scissor blade, and it comes up, and you get this big step right here in the blade, right? You know, we've all seen that where that big step is, and this is not as rounded here, but you get a really thick ride line through here. But then by the time it gets down to here, there's no ride line, just like what Bonnie had earlier today. You can work this area here a bunch with the scissor hanging over the stone and just slowly add a little bit every time. In other words, you're going to make 100 strokes here, you're going to make 99 strokes here, 90 strokes, you know, as you get to the tip, you're not growing that ride line on the tip. That's one way of doing it. If you try doing that with 8,000 grit, I finally did.
Forever.
And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
she was over there farting around for a long time. And I'm thinking, get that 5,000, and she finally did. But if you try to do it with 8,000 grit, it's going to take a long time. Put a 1,000 on, or 3,000, or the 2,000. Bonnie's got some nice stones. Her Shapton Professional Ceramic are really nice stones. If you guys only got one stone that you like, and that was one of my problems over the years, is I only got one stone. Well, you need a bunch, or you need assortment, and just keep buying them until you find one that you like. Her 2,000 grit Shapton is really nice. It brings up a burr or a ride line real quick. So something to try. But so if that don't work, we've got a thick ride line here, and as we get down here, we don't have hardly any ride line. But when you look at it, you see a real thick ride line here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. See this this edge right here? We would take that edge right there, which is, here's the shear this way now, okay? I got this shear like this. Here's the shear this way now. We're going to take this edge right here, and I'm going to put it in the clamp. There's a Wolf has got a YouTube. I don't know if Bonnie's got a video on this.
No, because I don't do this.
Okay.
I sell them a new pair.
Okay.
It's only a certain amount of work I'll do, and then I just sell them a new pair.
I'll grind that on a 45. I'll grind that on a 45. I do it on my flat home, but you'll grind that on a 45. When you grind this part right here off a little bit, now the ride line's only this thick, and this ride line is not. It's easier for the scissor to go down, which would mean put the ride line closer to that. The reason there's no ride line there is because the scissor's really deep down in the hollow, in the concave of the scissor. I've got a scissor blade that I made out of cardboard, real thin, like Coca-Cola.
When you grind that off like that, does that mess up the way the screw seats in the...
Oh yeah, Bonnie had the same problem with Shear today. It didn't feel good, the balance is not good. It's not going to last long because they hit hard right there.
So many.
Like she said, sell them a new one.
But he was happy for,
Yeah, for what he had.
But he also said he was going to put it in a shadow box hanging on the wall.
Oh, okay.
He knew.
I got you.
He knew.
I got you, yeah.
We get shears all the time that, person been cutting hair since Noah came over on the ark, and it's the same pair they started out with. And I'm saying, the scissor, us, everything's got a sell-by date. Put that thing in a shadow box. In fact, I carry them to sell. I do. I carry the shadow boxes, and I got one in a shadow box to show them what it looked like. Put it and get a new pair.
Don't be afraid to tell a customer like Maggie's saying, I'm not sharpening it no more. It's the last time I sharpened it, I wasn't happy with it. I didn't charge you for it. I'm not going to do that again. It's done. Get you a new shear. I'll be glad to sell you one.
Well, most of those people love to get new things anyway.
Sure.
So, if you don't make an effort to sell them, somebody else is.
That's right. Go ahead, Lauren.
The scissor, I think it's a Tondeo. It had the big triangle knob.
Yep.
It has a pin that goes.
I was going to bring that up.
Okay, go ahead.
It's an old one. It's a triangle knob. It looks a lot like a shield.
Yes.
The knob looks a lot like a shield, like this. And there's a little tiny hole in it. And you have to take, if you try to just grab that triangle knob with a pair of pliers and turn it, it won't turn. And then finally it'll turn. Well, there's a little tiny hole there, and you're supposed to push a pin down with a little wire.
And you just broke it.
And by not pushing that down, you just broke it. I broke one myself. Lauren didn't break one. Bonnie broke one. She's speaking from.
Now, I was watching a sharpener sharpen it, and I watched him break it. I was
I
at the
broke
show.
one too.
Yeah.
Are those Tondeos? Is that?
I haven't seen them
They're,
around.
they're from Europe. They're from Europe.
Are
They're
they?
from Europe. And first one I saw was a picture I think that Ian sent me because he had trouble with it.
Oh.
And so I was aware of it. And then we were at a hair show in Ohio, and there was one, I recognized it before I got over there.
He had already turned it and broke
I
it,
don't
yeah.
think the new ones have that.
Yeah, that was
particular
so
type of
adjusted
screw, because
so
we do
far.
those, it's just not.
Yeah.
You get it tight where you
That
want
hard
it,
to get
and you put
into.
the pin in, and it would only give you a little bit of adjustment.
Yeah, it moves just a little bit
You
and
want
then
to slide
stops.
inside there. You had to line it up and then push it the whole way through the other end of the scissors.
Well, do they still make the Joewell convex? Now, the one I'm talking about is not a convex.
Oh, the
edge,
K-blade?
It's a convex, the blade itself, the cut
Joewell
edge
K-blade.
convex itself, it's got a,
It's called the Joewell K-blade. They still make them, yes.
Yep. Yep. Everybody know what a K-blade is?
No.
No.
Alright.
so I hadn't saw any of those for sale in a long time. I didn't know if we still made them. But I have some customers that use them.
And
And they
some
love
of, yeah, and the old ones were made better than newer ones, and they love them. They want you to keep
They
them
do love
alive.
'em, yeah.
That's some of the zombies out there.
A standard blade looks like, here's the spine. It kind of looks like, it kind of looks like this. Of course, it don't drop off that much. If they drop off that much, because you're not sharpening right, raising your hand too high, letting it stay up there. But it looks like that, and a little step there, hole for the pivot. A K blade, hole for the pivot, looks like this. Big step here,
Right, that's what I'm talking
and
about.
and a long point up here.
That's it.
Not quite an 800 millimeter radius.
Not
is it?
that big.
But some of it,
That's a safety tip. No. But this here is like this.
yeah.
Dad, real early in his career, I mean like real early, he got one of them sharpened and he said, boy, that don't look right. Ground it back flat. So, but yeah, that's what it looks like. It looks like that. This comes up, and then it's got a big notch there.
Yeah.
And
They don't bend either.
yeah, they're hard. They're a good shear.
Yeah.
You would sharpen that just like you would any other shear. The only thing is, whenever I get a shear that's curved like that, I think it does a better job rather than sharpening it this way. I think that you do a better job by sharpening it in passes. You get
Yeah.
and that's just my personal opinion. Everybody's got their own opinion, and also long curved shears that are convex, or even any curved shear, curved either this way, the blade curved, or curved like Bonnie's shear that she was showing Chad. Any curved shear, I feel it's really better. I get a better result myself. Convex, creating the convex by making passes, but that's just my personal opinion. That's what mine is.
And I was wondering about that shear, because I got a lot of people that got them, but every one of them is at least 10 years old.
Oh yeah, they're old.
And I've been sharpening the same ones for years and years, and they're getting to the point they're wearing down.
Guys, go to as many shows as you can. Always learn something. I learn something every time I go somewhere. Sometimes it might be like, dang, I paid $500 just to learn that, but it's worth it. You know what I mean?
Hey, I've got something from every show that I've come to.
The little tips Bonnie does is good. If you're thinking about certifying, Bonnie's doing a wonderful job with the marketing of the certification. We got some new things coming up. Check into it. It's in Memphis, Tennessee, which is drivable for most people.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know we got some people a little bit farther, but it's drivable for most people. Some of Sam Vila's shears, beauty shears, are really super fine corrugation.
Taras have that microserration on
All I do is in the inside.
And I've got it on the tip of on the shear that Chad was using.
Jay was saying that he can actually file that.
That's what I do.
Well, I put it on.
Yeah, I do too.
I put it on. I mean, no,
Go
I mean,
ahead.
the original one I put
I haven't
on.
been doing this long, perhaps this will show, but what's wrong with just putting like an 80 or 100 grit paper on your machine and just blowing across that and redoing it?
Too rough. Not a 100 grit paper is not uniform enough.
Yeah, it's not consistent.
Not consistent. Micron, good quality micron cutting paper. Every grit is going to be the same. When you get to lower 80 or 100 grit paper, you might have anywhere between 120 to 60 grit in there because it's a lower quality. Where in other words, the edge will be really rough. They make serration files, they make diamond files, they make diamond drums, like his machine, and they make wheels. And it just might be something where you say, I can't sharpen it. I can't reproduce as close to factory as that. And that's probably what yours was.
They wouldn't talk to me.
Lauren said one thing there, if you get a corrugated shear, whether it be beauty or pet grooming or anything, I do the same thing. I look at the corrugation. If it's in really good shape, the edge is not, the corrugated edge is not rolled or nicked or anything, all I do is work the inside of that blade, which when you work the inside of any shear, you're sharpening the inside part of it. I work the in, and if you don't believe me, take a shear for practice, because I've done it, I don't know, and get 1,000 grit stone and then work it for about 10 minutes. And then look at it and you'll see a burr that come up on the outside. So anyway, with the corrugated shear, I work the inside blade of the corrugation and just leave it alone.
Well, you said the most important thing too of anybody in here when you said corrugated, because if you go to an beauticians or pet groomers, it don't really matter, but if you go to a barber shop and you say serrated edge, you're probably not going to get to work. And just, you got to say corrugation. If you say serrated edge to a barber,
Yeah.
he don't want no part of it. He wants corrugation. He's used to that word, corrugation, and it's drilled in their head.
Cutting, you know, one of them will understand one word, the other one, somebody else will understand it in a different way.
Sure. Yep.
But the barbers themselves, beauticians, you know, you can call it anything with them. But the old-timey barbers and the younger barbers, it don't matter. But the old-timey barbers.
Serration station.
Yeah, there you go.
Same thing. It just had different terms and where you're going.
Exactly. Well, anyway, you guys drive careful on the way home.
Any other
or Bonnie,
questions?
do you got?
Yeah, I just want to wrap it up and say, did y'all appreciate Dennis?
I appreciate it big time.